What is the perspective of millennials now when it comes to this particular issue?
Well, I will speak for myself, a millennial, in saying I don't think it actually is that different. I think that we are in a time when women are likelier to be believed, and that people think that when they speak, people are likelier to speak up, and then when they do, it is more often that they are believed. I think that to complicate that a little bit, race and gender and class and sexual orientation and all of the kind of intersectional identities affect that, right? I think that not everyone is equally believed in the same way. And I think that we have a tendency, it is a critique of feminism at large, and I think Me Too, it undergirds that we often pin these narratives to women who are white and women who we can pin a level of sexual virtue onto, and people who don't embody that or aren't assumed to embody that same level of virtue are not believed in the same way. And I think, I am a millennial, but I'm also a Black woman, and I am also cognizant of how that affects the way that people are listened to, and whose stories get told, and whose stories get prioritized, and who gets assistance, and how we conceive of diversity in the workplace and programs that are meant to raise women up, and that necessarily can't be divorced from how we look at how to support other identities. I'm so glad that you brought up women who work in blue-collar jobs and women who are migrant workers and domestic workers and work in service industries. Their ability to believe in what the cost for those things are is slightly different than those of us who might work in a newsroom.
Do you think that women... Do you think that women of color are still not believed?
I think that's complicated, right? I think that women of color are not a monolith. I think it depends a lot on the intersection of race and class and position and where you stand in the hierarchy and your level of adjacency to power. I think women of color, in broad strokes, if we're talking in the abstract, have a tendency to not have that level of virtue ascribed to them, to be looked at as hypersexualized, and having that affect their ability to be believed.
Can I just raise one
Yes,
issue
of
related
course.
to the story we did on Ford? I think that it was a very powerful story, but I also have to, and life-changing, to your point, for the women involved. But it was Harvey Weinstein and the celebrities, and something about the Hollywood nature of this that captivated people. We wanted the traffic to the Ford story to be as high as the Harvey Weinstein story, but it wasn't, because people somehow, that hit them in a way that and the celebrities who ended up, including Matt, involved in this, that was much more, it's sad in some ways, I think, but that was what moved this needle in such a profound way.
But they're also known individuals,
Yeah.
that people are familiar with. And I
That's
think
true.
as harrowing and upsetting, and even in many ways, to everyone's point, more upsetting, domestic workers or, maids in hotels, I read a statistic that 49% of them have a guest expose themselves to them. And I'm like, what is wrong with these people, by the way? That's a whole nother Oprah. We'll get to another panel. But I think that this familiarity is what brought it to everyone's attention, because it was famous people that they saw on their television screens or that they knew about. And, I think as long as the wave continues to help other women, then that's okay.